Ooh. I think it should be live most places. Okay, there we go. It should be live now.
Fantastic.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Florian. We'll give people a few minutes to trickle in before we jump into it, but this will be a fun stream. We have Josh and Jake here with me.
Hey, guys.
So, I think name tags. Oh, sorry. I opened it just. Our name tags disappeared.
That's what I was looking.
Why?
It's good.
What is going on? StreamYard?
Good little question.
I swear they were there before, right? Or am I tripping?
Maybe not. At least since we got in. I mean, they've been here before, but
Yeah. I mean,
Carl says he's gonna go get a Coke Zero, so we gotta wait. We gotta wait for him.
Okay. Well,
Who
wait.
started
Let
the
us know
Coke
when you're
Zero
back.
thing in the Laravel ecosystem? I know there's a couple diehards. Aaron
Probably-
Francis, I think, is a Coke Zero man. I don't know who else.
Aaron Francis would probably be more of a Diet Coke man, but I
Is
think
he diet? Oh,
he's
Oh yeah, he's
Diet-
DC.
that's
he's
bad.
Diet Coke, but it was all Taylor for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Florian said it was all Taylor.
But the funny thing is
Coke
Taylor doesn't
Zero.
discriminate either. He's said on streams before that Pepsi Zero is fine too. And
Yeah, Pepsi
most
Zero
people would call that
slaps.
heresy in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
No, it's good. I would say Pepsi Zero definitely over Diet Coke.
Really?
Diet
Yeah.
Coke doesn't go for me.
No,
Well,
I'll
I'll
do
drink-
Diet Coke all day.
I'll drink Diet Coke. I like Coke Zero better because I grew up on Diet Coke, the caffeine-free version. You know, like the gold can.
Yeah.
Not
Gold DC.
It's a top tier design, but I mean, once it's diet and caffeine free, what are we doing it for? You know, what's in there? What's left?
I've got me a Mountain Dew Baja Blast
Oh,
Zero.
Ooh.
wow. Man
Yeah.
of culture.
Yeah.
I have
Gotta rep
coffee in a
Tebow.
Beatles mug.
There you go.
Huge.
It's
Huge.
loaded up.
Do you ever
Still
drink?
working on a rain sponsorship because I just spend too much money on energy drinks. So if anyone has a hookup, hit me up.
Oh, there you go. I see the tags now.
Oh, yeah. What? I didn't click anything.
Was it the comments? Maybe. Who knows?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe
Oh,
when it's
maybe it
showing in
is.
Comments goes away.
Oh.
Or okay, very
I've
interesting.
never noticed that before.
There you go. Adam
Why?
Wilden too.
Oh, the UI. Yeah. Which I feel like I don't see Adam talk about Coke Zero a lot.
Yeah. See him talk about
Or maybe I just miss it.
weightlifting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He's
I
a
see
big
his
weightlifter.
walk little podcast stuff.
I
Oh,
know.
walking
You got to
dog.
bring that back. I think it's been a while
Mhm.
since the last one.
it's
People
been a
loved
bit.
it. He got too many good ideas from it, and now he's just working on them and depriving us of his thoughts.
I love it.
And then Adam's a monster man. I love monsters. I had to stop myself because me and White Monsters. I loved them too much.
The White Monster is, the best one.
I have been in besides Zero, so I even have a Dr. Pepper Zero lined up, so I have like double. But besides Zero
Huge.
stuff, I have been really into liquid death iced teas recently.
Mm.
And that's been
Mm.
my go-to. I just finished like a 24 pack in 2 days.
I'm really biased about tea because I'm from Florida, but I'm from like basically Georgia. It's like Georgia, Florida. So I'm very opinionated about tea, and I really only drink tea if it's like super sweet tea, like to where you will
Yeah.
feel sick after
Okay.
drinking it. So I can't really
Yeah.
do like Lipton or any other teas.
Yeah.
McDonald's level sweet tea with the 200 grams of sugar or whatever it is.
At least 200.
That was the I used to manage a Chick-fil-A, and our sweet tea had it was literally like a huge scoop, and each tea thing was like 3 scoops. So it's like I was like, oh, this is a lot of sugar. We didn't have like a diet sweet tea. We had diet lemonade.
Yeah.
Which has like Splenda instead of sugar, but
Yeah.
sweet tea was just pure sugar.
Yeah, diet sweet tea just sounds wrong. Either do it or don't. Be in or be out.
I don't know if you do it with stevia and you put enough. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Stevia
good.
seems good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, says the guy drinking Coke Zero, which is the same thing as either be in or be out. I'm like, no, gonna be in the middle.
I love what
have
yeah, I love that comment. I
the-
just asked how good it is at writing Laravel. Responded with probably better than you.
I want to know which model this was. Respond in the chat.
Oh,
Gotta
yeah.
think it's one of the spicier models like Grok or maybe Claude.
How spicy is Kimmy? I haven't played around with like Kimmy that much.
Me either.
It's a very no nonsense one, so not really super
Mhm.
spicy.
Okay.
It's just very fast and no nonsense in my mind.
No fluff.
Opus is very nice.
No fluff.
And a lot of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
we
love
know
to
he's
know
not
the model.
running we know he's not running GPT because it would have mentioned like, my gremlins are better at writing than you are or whatever.
Good old
I haven't
gremlins.
kn- I think I've trained GPT to respond the way I want because I'm like, is this a good response or not? Like, I'll ask it dumb things. It's like, does this make sense? And it's just like, yes, this makes sense. Yeah, it was Grok.
Called it.
Called it. How's everyone doing today?
I had to think about what day it is. But yeah, how's everyone doing on this Thursday? Not quite Friday yet, but almost.
Lovely Thursday morning for me still, but afternoon for maybe most people.
Yeah, early afternoon here. It's rainy. It's a little bleak.
It's not snowing here today, but it's still pretty snowy. We had like a winter storm the last 2 days. Yeah. We had a lot of snow.
Wait, did you say you're in Georgia and you're getting snow?
Oh, I'm in Colorado now. I'm from like Georgia. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, whoa.
It's like, what did
How
I
did
miss?
that happen?
No. But I think the Northeast is gonna get hit again by an Arctic blast this month.
Wow.
I saw someone. Hold on, I'll try to find it. Which is crazy because like we had a pretty mild winter in Colorado this year, and then the Northeast kind of got slammed a few times.
End of the workday for Florian. Evening here. Trade with Ribbit. Glad to have you.
Nice.
I know you mentioned also something earlier about give you an idea. You're ready. You want to rock with Laravel. But I've got plenty of ideas. I don't know if I've got good ones. I've got a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have like any shorts you'd want to share though that could be applicable for like ideas? Because I feel like you've been cranking out some cool shorts, or like Christoph's video and what is it, like the one game video he made?
Yeah, that one is a good. So on the Laravel official channel, be sure to like and subscribe. If you aren't already, especially for this video, but on the Laravel official channel, there is a video that Christoph has made about AI specifically, where it is building a game with AI. One of the shorts that I just recently released that was really fun and might spark some ideas for you is like a live Pictionary game. It uses Laravel Cloud, and all of that was pretty much vibe coded, I guess, if you want to say that. I did look at the code, so a little bit different than what we're going to get into today, but that might spark some interest too. Laravel Reverb is not just live notification, but you can draw and see people draw it too. It's actually live at pictionary.laravel.cloud. I have not tested it since it went up, but it did work at one point. So hopefully those are some ideas. Laravel Reverb is full of ideas, I should say.
We've got Reverb rocking in the app we're going to look at today. So
fantastic.
We're also running on Laravel Cloud. And local. There
you go. It's a lot easier when it runs local.
Yeah. Nice and smooth. I do want to know in the comments how good people think this code's going to be. Just before you see anything, we haven't all looked at it individually. Are you going to go, do you think it's like junior level, mid-level, or senior level Laravel code? knowing that it's like 99% vibe coded. Got some plan mode in there. We got all the AI tools hooked up, but 99% written by Opus.
Carl does not like else blocks. We found this out yesterday. So this is saying he doesn't necessarily think it'd be up to his standards.
Oof.
Yeah, I'd love to know
Uh,
what people think the quality would be like.
We're gonna put that in a skill, Carl. No else blocks,
No,
whatever you
also.
do, and then we'll see if it uses a skill or not.
And then I also dropped the link in chat for the one short that Josh was talking about on the Pictionary app. And then I accidentally posted the same link twice, but both of these links are for Christoph's video on building with the Laravel AI SDK. It was a D&D game, I think he built. But yeah, let's while chat is responding of how they think the quality will be, let's kind of jump into it. So today we're talking about how Jake vibe coded about 99% of a MVP that he built using Laravel. He used Claude to generate the code. Like he said, he hasn't really looked at the code. Me and Josh have not looked at the code at all. So today we're going to be reviewing that code to see how good of a job AI does at generating Laravel code. But before we get into the actual code, we're first going to kind of just go over the process of how Jake created this app, kind of like maybe the type of prompts he used, models, stuff like that. And then like if he used any tools like Laravel Boost. But we're getting some answers here. Okay. Aaron said mid-level, which I feel like it's like a good
I'd be pretty
guess.
happy with that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, Jake, as like those answers are rolling in, one, what model IDE or like agent harness did you use? And then two, did you use Laravel Boost or any other additional skills besides just the ones that Boost provides?
Yeah,
I think that could help
that's
us like guess as well.
yeah, that's a great question. So I decided on two things right at the beginning of the project. I'm a cursor man, and I've been
Okay.
really digging that. I just like having the kind of IDE hybrid situation going on. So I was
Mm-hmm.
in Cursor. I think I started off on two, and during the project ended up on three. So Cursor as a harness, mostly running Opus 4.5. 4.7, I think, or 4.6, and then 7 came out during. Is 7 out, or are we on 4.7's out, right?
4.7. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Expensive one.
um, yeah, I demoed that on a feature or two, and I just didn't see a significant difference in output as far as like the strategic thinking when I was talking to it, or the quick code review that I would do when it spit something out, or results as far as like UI code. And so I was like, listen, I'm not trying to just burn tokens. I'm going to stick with 4.5. So majority 4.5. I ran a couple things through Composer and a couple smaller tweaks like, hey, change this button color. I just
Yeah.
flip it to auto to save those tokens. But anything significant, I would run in plan mode in Cursor, have it give me a plan, have it ask me questions and prompt back and forth. And then once I was happy with the plan, looking at some of the architecture and some of the patterns that it wanted to use. Again, I can give a little bit of background, like my Laravel experience up to this, but I probably wouldn't even know enough to make the best decisions, but I do know enough to call out really bad decisions. So I would try to get a good plan and then prompt it to run. And any planning and execution for significant development was Opus.
Yeah, I would love to know more of your background with Laravel too, before we like dive more
Yeah.
into it, because I think that context could be helpful.
Yeah. My programming background is working initially with WordPress. That was like my first CMS in the space. So a little bit of PHP familiarity there, but much more on the like tinkering UI side of things. And so the PHP would be like back in the Stack Overflow days, figuring out stuff as I could. And then I've worked in professional web development for about 10 years, give or take. I currently am more in a manager role now, so a lot of my coding's on the side. But I've worked with a CMS called Craft CMS, which runs Yi under the hood, and gotten a decent amount of experience with that. So again, not top level familiarity. And then I've followed the Laravel ecosystem for a long time. I've built a couple like super tinkery apps, but nothing production ready. So a lot of my Laravel knowledge is like high level. Like I know what it has and I know its patterns, but I couldn't have coded something, significant out of the gate without some AI help. So that's why I thought it would be kind of an interesting test I've got I think I'm a decent developer, broad scope, good, really good on the front end is where a lot of my skills are. Good
Mhm.
understanding of the back end, but not specifically Laravel. And that's where the AI that I was using kind of bridged that gap. Whether it did it well or less than perfectly, we'll see. But that's kind of what I was looking for.
I love it. When you were writing this or having
Mhm.
your orchestrating it within your agent,
Yeah.
how much of the code were you reviewing? Were you said you were kind of looking at like overall architecture and everything like that? Were you actually looking at some like the snippets of code, or maybe like for names or things like that, or was it more just you would prompt? Maybe you go into the UI, test it that way, making sure tests are passing, whatever you're doing, and then
Yeah.
reprompt.
Yeah. So two answers to that. One is I started with creating the app myself, no AI help. So I used the Laravel new, installed the things that I needed to get an app up and running first, and then installed in Boost and any of to get all the help that I could. So I essentially had a fresh, clean, no features Laravel install and then prompted from there. So I
Got
kind
it.
of knew that I was starting from like a de facto, not broken, good setup. I had it created with inertia on the front end, inertia and Vue. So I had like a good setup to work off of. And then as I prompted it to go do the MVP and then add features, I was mostly reviewing, doing a quick review of the code, but looking for certain keywords that I either wanted to see or not see in there, looking for certain, making sure, hey, if I prompt this feature, it's going to get a controller, it's going to get a change to the model, and then it's going to get an updated view. Most of my testing has been on the front end, and then I've very cursorily, very high level reviewed the tests as well to make sure
Yeah,
that the tests that it was spitting out were actually going to try to hold the features to continue working as I prompted and continue to build out new features or edit things.
that makes sense.
So I didn't feel like, I mean, Grok says it writes better code than me. It's probably true. I didn't feel like I had enough domain expertise right now to really critique it on certain patterns. So I mean, I think
Mm,
if I dug into it more now, if someone said, "Hey, we want to fund your startup, go get this right." First of all, I would get someone to help me nail down some of the fundamentals, but I would, go through and look through and test all the patterns and look through especially the important logic around authentication and how all of those things are happening. But I didn't feel like I had enough info to critique it at this point. And it's done a really good job of building like functional features. And so that's what I was shooting for in the MVP.
Also, did you use the starter kit? Because I know you said you used Vue and Inertia. Did you use the Vue starter kit
Yeah, I
when
believe
setting up?
so. I'd have to look back
Okay.
to see exactly where I started from, but I think it was the inertia view starter kit.
and
Okay.
so
And
I'm
then,
curious. Oh, go ahead, Leah.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, and then you mentioned Auth, so I'm guessing you probably brought in Fortify to use Auth. It like prompts you when you're doing the starter kit.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I made some changes to that as well, so we can look at that. But I wanted a purely SMS based auth,
Okay.
so I tweaked certain things along the way, and I believe it is using Fortify under the hood. But I picked a starter kit that would get me as close as possible from kind of out of the gate, so I wouldn't have to. I didn't want it making like the biggest picture architectural decisions because I wasn't sure how well it would do with that. So I tried to kind of get ahead by picking a great starter and then prompting from there. And that's worked relatively well, I think.
What's up, Chase? I'm curious of what you're using the Laravel AI SDK for. And so with that, Jake, my kind of like two questions. One, what additional maybe packages within Laravel, either first party or third party, did you bring in, or did AI bring in, maybe like after it says like, hey, like you should probably do this? And then
Yeah.
two, what were the parts that you manually did? Maybe like, did you manually write Laravel new and start that, or did you have the AI do all that? Did you manually set up your GitHub repo and go into like Laravel Cloud UI? What parts did you manually prefer to take over, or just because of knowledge wanted to take over?
Yeah.
And which parts did you
Yeah.
leave up to the AI?
No, it's a great question. Yeah, I started it just like in a folder, no repo,
Yeah.
chilling, trying to lose all my work with accidentally deleting something. So I started it. I ran Laravel new myself with some sort of starter kit. I don't remember exactly what I grabbed at the beginning. So that was run by me. After that, I think all of the other changes were prompted. I created the repo and I connected the repo to Laravel Cloud myself, but I even had it. I was like, hey, I'm going to deploy this on Laravel Cloud. What do I need to change or do or set up before I do that or as I do that? And it kind of gave me the map to Laravel Cloud, which was super, super simple from what I had running locally. A few config changes and a few things like that, putting a couple environment variables in Laravel Cloud, but it was like, hey, this is pretty much going to work. Do this and this, and you'll be good to go. So as far as manual things, those are the only ones that I remember. I did choose some packages specifically. I knew about Boost and that would help me out of the gate. So that was the first thing I did. I got it up and running where I got like a, localhost 8,000 or 3,000, whatever it is, screen up where I could see a Laravel logo, and then I installed Boost. That was the
Yeah.
first thing I did, and I told it specifically I was going to be in Cursor, and it read the rest of what I had going on in the project and asked me a couple questions and installed the MCP as well as a few other things. So I think I have the full like AI kit set up, and it's been very helpful. I can see it talking back and forth. I can see it using the Boost skills. So I think I tried to set up the best guardrails that I could out of the gate, and I think that was a good decision.
Awesome.
And this is kind of related to what Josh was asking, but Carl also asked, is it all Shad CN, or did you have it build the UI as well?
Yeah. So, great question. Does the Laravel starter kit come with Shad CN, or is it a different kind of component
Yep.
kit?
Yeah, it does use
Florian
Shad
even
CN.
answered.
Yeah.
For React
So
and Vue
yeah,
and Svelte.
it was using the Shad CN components. I ended up the like starter Laravel UI wasn't exactly where I wanted to take the UI, so I ended up having it kind of reinstall the default Shad CN components versus the kind of Laravel styled ones that come in the starter kit. So I ended up removing most of the kind of built-in UI code. I think at some point I had to remove all of the views completely and start
Okay.
over on the views. But I may have like done the new ones and then have it like cross reference and back and forth to the new views. But the UI is essentially totally custom. Yeah.
I love that.
Me
Another
too.
quick question for me on my end before we jump into some of the code is, I'm curious what was the most like either surprising or exciting thing about working with, in the sense of like you're building with AI, you know what an app should look like, you've built apps before,
Yeah.
but this was kind of like your first foray back into Laravel, as well as doing something from completely scratch within AI. So what was the thing that like most surprised you, maybe like, oh, like I did this and it nailed it in one shot, it wasn't that bad? And then what was the most frustrating thing about maybe either just working with AI, or like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I probably could have hand wrote this front end part when it didn't mess up X, Y, or Z? What
Yeah.
were those two things?
Yeah. Um, as far as the most exciting or like most like I felt like I had superpowers moments were
Yeah.
one, just the Laravel ecosystem, like being able to grab reverb and I told it, hey, so there's a chat feature in the app. And I was like, hey, I want to do chat. I want to have live updates. And it's like, awesome. Laravel has reverb. Here's how you're going to configure it. Here's how we're going to run it locally. And the setup for that being AI knowing all of that and suggesting that to me. So I knew it, but I didn't tell it use reverb. I just said, let's have chat. And it
Mm.
said, awesome, here's what you need. We're going to install this, and these ways. And so that the ecosystem plus the AI knowing about the ecosystem and what to leverage when really felt like a huge boost. And then I think inertia getting me into a language I'm the most comfortable with Vue on the front end, and then tying that into the back end in the right ways, or hopefully some right ways. What is a huge superpower as well. I think I know about Livewire, and for someone who's pretty well versed on the front end side of things with a lot of Vue and React experience, being able to bridge that gap really easily and write front end code that's native to the way that I think, but that not put me so far from being able to interact with my back end that I'm always trying to figure out, how many fetch calls am I making to connect this front end that I know how to write to these controllers, and passing data back and forth. Having a kind of like communication model in inertia feels like a cheat code.
Mm. That's
And
awesome.
also how it simplifies things. I know for
Hmm.
me, like even having that form component feels
Yeah.
just like a huge unlock. And then Pascal's been like cooking for what was it, Inertia V3 that came out
Yeah.
like 2 months ago or so.
Yeah. And I think the amount of times that I was like, hey, build this feature, and instead of it writing, like I said, like fetch calls to hit a custom controller, or, starting to figure out its own way of doing things, how often I saw it, because I'm seeing little code snippets pop up and little red and green sections as it refactors things to say, oh, I'm going to use form from Inertia, or I'm going to use this, like the way the first party packages work together. I think
Mhm.
for a developer who knows the ecosystem, they probably are doing that in their thinking. They go, oh, I need a form, I'm grabbing use form. I need a form component, I'm grabbing the form component. So for those things to exist, but then AI to also know how to use them, and that seemed to be true much more often than not. I was rarely saying, hey, you don't know that Laravel has this, but it does. Stop doing it a dumb
Mm.
way. And again, that's
Mhm.
like the bridge of the knowledge I have, which is like I know what Laravel contains, but not as much how to implement it.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was kind of in a good spot to be building if the AI knew and I could tell it what I know and get it rolling. But I didn't end up having to give it a lot of the info that I feel like I had that equipped me to set it up.
Got it.
The most frustrating, and we'll see if there are maybe things I should have been frustrated by, but I didn't know to be. The most frustrating things were a couple like custom UI type things I wanted to
Mm.
do. So there's a little navigation component, and I wanted it to have a line under the active item and then move between items.
Okay.
And it had built the page where it was three separate views instead of like a nested layout.
Okay.
So even
Mhm.
with inertia's, route switching, when you clicked between one route to the next route, it was reloading not just the page, but also that navigation section at the top because that was within the view. And so even with, I was trying to get it, I was like, use view transitions, use CSS, don't JavaScript this. And it couldn't figure out that the reason it was breaking was because the page was getting reloaded in the middle. So it would start to move and then it would jump. And I didn't realize it at first, and then I did, and I was like, I wonder if it'll fix this. And I ended up having to tell it like, hey, you need to refactor this to use a nested layout, with the right inertia features. And I had to go look that up really quick and tell it. And then once I did, it was like, you're right, and it's like, I got you. Yeah, you're right. I'll fix that. So it was like apologetic. It's like, oh, I should have known that. But that was frustrating. And then even after that, I had to fix some of the UI code. So every once in a while I hit something that I do know how to do or know is
Yeah.
possible that it can't seem to get right. And then I just get my
Mhm.
hands dirty and get in there. But that's a pretty small price to pay for it doing the majority of things. And then feel like I'm still the expert when I get to do one or two things that it can't get without me. So
I knew it was going to be UI. I knew it.
Yeah. It kind of falls in line though, and I bet we'll see more of this in the code too. More of what I personally think, and like what we've talked about on these streams before with others, as well as like even Taylor is like it's coming down to this point, I think, where you're in a good position, Jake, of what's possible. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
this should be a persisted layout, and so it's
Yeah,
like you don't even
exactly.
really need to know the technical term of what maybe inertia calls it, or you don't
Yep.
really need to know what is happening with props and this underlying layer. It's more of
Yeah.
like you need to understand the colloquialism, for lack
Mhm.
of a better word, of saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I know that Laravel and Inertia and Vue has persisted layouts or nested
Right.
layouts, whatever this thing. And that's almost half of the battle in a lot of ways
Mhm.
Mhm.
of knowing what's possible so that you can tell it, hey, this is possible. We'll find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that requires knowing what's, and this is I think why we're not going anywhere, is that requires knowing what's actually happening. It
Mm,
requires knowing that rendering happens and how, things get rendered. And, you could think about it in an islands architecture. You could think about it in a server side, client side architecture. And there's all these different, like you said, like concepts around it. But at a deep way of understanding it, someone who just vibe coded this with very little coding knowledge probably wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how routing works or how server side versus client side routing works. And so, if you do know those things, I think it levels up your ability to produce because you can understand what's happening a lot faster than someone who just keeps prompting, make the line move smoothly, Like sometimes that's not enough knowledge to get where you need to be.
yep. Yep.
Or
I agree.
even be able to tell it the optimal way to do it, because I feel like sometimes, especially in, like, front-end stuff, I have to say, like, "No, we should actually be doing it this way." Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it would try to do stuff, like, in just JavaScript, and it's like,
Yeah.
"No, you can do this natively in CSS. Go to my CSS file, add it here, use
Yeah.
these specific things in CSS," and, like, if you don't know how to code it,
Yeah.
well, you wouldn't really be able to do that, you know? You would just
Yeah.
have to take what you get.
I do feel like that's still a gap with, I don't know if some models are better than other. I've heard that there is a discrepancy, but that is where I've found the most, that I still need to use my knowledge of actually implementation and what's out there and what's available and what's the best way to do things, thinking in, like amount of code, performance, what things need to be involved to get something done is on the, especially CSS, but just generally on the front end side of saying like,
Mhm.
I think it's because there's so many ways to do things. Um, it maybe doesn't, when there's 10 different ways to do it, it maybe doesn't always pick the best route with thinking through all of the concerns involved. So yeah.
Yeah. I want to do last kind of like bets maybe, or if that's a good word. But anyone in the chat, I'm curious, what is like the one or two thing that we will find? I know Carl had mentioned at some point of like probably like a bunch
The
of if else
else.
statements. Mine ones that I, just because I've done a lot of scaffolding out from scratch to nothing. The ones that I think is it's going to probably have, specifically with an inertia, I'm guessing it's going to probably have more either like Axios or fetch requests within like a use effect than it probably should. And it probably should
Mm,
have used something like even like the new inertia use HTTP
mhm,
instead of
Yeah.
that, which is a nicer wrapper. And I also think if you have any queues, it's probably going to either uh, and Carl also mentioned with the lots of breaks to CRUD by design. I definitely agree with that. AI hates the CRUD controllers. I don't know what's
mhm,
best with controllers, honestly.
Mhm.
I don't write controllers as much within Livewire. But my second one, I think, is within queues or any kind of reverb stuff that you had mentioned as well. I'm guessing it's going to default it to queues versus like should broadcast now for
mm,
notifications and doesn't delineate based off of what the
yeah.
actual outcome should be.
I think I actually had to fix that, so we'll see
Oh, really? There you go.
if that's tweaked somewhere. but I don't remember the UI experience that I was having that was not working correctly. But I at the show
Mhm.
broadcast now, when you said that, I was like, I've heard that, but what would the behavioral difference be?
Yeah. So within reverbs, there should broadcast now, which is
Mhm.
happening on that request. So instead of
Mm,
saying, like, let's say for chat messages, especially if you're only having certain number of connections within a certain
right.
time, a lot of the times that's just better because it's not pushing it to a queue and
Right.
having to go through all of that process.
Yeah.
And then the default without should broadcast now is pushing it to a queue. So
Okay.
every broadcast within uh, reverb within echo is by default to a queue.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I ended up tweaking that, but you're right. It did set it up in the opposite way, and we can check the code for verification on that.
Yeah.
I think Raphael has a good guess too of like probably pretty bloated controllers and duplicated functions because I always see duplicated functions. It'll
Mm,
like rewrite something like a one controller that's like in a model or like somewhere else. It's like, no, we don't need that. I also would guess a lot of comments and a lot of unnecessary comments.
mhm,
And then kind of like on the vein of what Josh was saying with inertia, I feel
Mm.
like AI loves to use like use form and like outdated ways to do things instead of
mm,
using like the new form component or like you were saying the new use HTTP hook. Like it kind of defaults to the older way of doing things instead
mm.
of the newer, and sometimes you have to like hand hold it. Even though Boost does feed in that context, it still
Yeah.
likes
Yeah.
to go a little rogue.
This is
Yeah.
where. Oh, so go ahead, Jake.
Now on the front end, so you talking about the duplicated functions, I did
Mhm.
the other day. I refactored something on the front end so that all of my like in a form, so that all of the like submit buttons will show a loading indicator when it's submitting, so that they get some sort of feedback. As I slowed down the network, it was too fast, so I had to slow down the network so I could see it, and it appears inline on the button, and you can't click it. So I had to do all of that, and then I had to apply it everywhere, and it essentially just like duplicated a lot of the same functionality because there's some client side state which needs to be managed for that, and some like the svg that it's using for the loading spinner, and it would just like duplicate it everywhere. And I was like, hey, instead of doing that, make a submittable button or something like that component and then reuse that. So it doesn't always, sometimes you'll see it reuse something, you're like, wow, that was great. But I
Mhm.
had to specifically prompt it to not go throw a bunch of the exact same code
Mm.
implementation code on 50 different buttons. And I'm like, okay, if I ask you to go do something everywhere and we just did a version of it and you're copy pasting 50 times, I don't know if I need to put this in a skill or something, but like probably that's a good time to refactor. So I don't know if you can teach AI like the rules of three or whatever, a good metric for that is like, hey, once you've done the same thing 3 times, if it makes sense to refactor.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a skill for that.
Probably.
Well,
Similarly,
some.
along those lines, I do want to do a shout out to. I posted a short yesterday that I think fits really well with this. I'll put it in the comments, but it's essentially uh, where I think when you were building with AI, and I'm curious, Jake, as we look into the code of like what AI
Mhm.
started to do, but better tooling becomes when we have things like linting on the front end
Mhm,
or tests and types, and it's one of those things where, especially like there's rector within PHP and Laravel that
mhm,
kind of catches maybe some of that outdated PHP code. And
mhm.
yes, it doesn't really matter in terms of functionality, but it does matter later down the line when you're having all of this architectural
Yeah,
opinions, if you will.
Mhm.
yeah.
Why don't we jump into the
I guess
code?
we can jump. Yeah. I did have one question about the cursor stuff, but I think we should jump into the code and I can just ask it during
Okay,
that.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I have not used cursoring a bit, so I'm curious to hear how that all flowed together, if you will.
Because there's also different views. Like you can do just the agent view for cursor, where
Mhm.
you're basically talking to it like you would Claude desktop. So I was kind of curious if you use that kind of view where you use it more like a chat interface, or you used where like you had the actual like IDE looking at the code on the left and like on the right you had the chat.
Yeah. I started off in like a full IDE setup, and then when they demoed the new setup, it was called Cursor Glass, and
Mhm.
I tried it out, and I was not happy because I was like, "Where did my code go? Where did my
Yeah.
my file viewer go?" I'm like, I don't want Chat GPT looking view or a Claude looking like just a chat box as my setup, and I think they've refined it a little bit in Cursor 3 where it blends really well, so we can look at that kind of as we go. But I've got over here, you can see all my recent chats and all the different features I've worked on. I think it's really cool to easily be able to switch between these and jump right back in. But then if you hide
Yeah.
that, you can kind of go into the standard IDE setup where you can see your file tree if you still need it. You can see be chatting with one agent specifically, and then have code out here in the middle if you need to be looking at things specifically. This is kind of where I've landed for now.
I love it.
I think the
The
less reviewing you're doing, the more the just kind of like straight up prompting, orchestrating. You feel like a project manager more than a
Mhm.
programmer at that point. But the less code review you're doing, the more that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm curious then, when did you start this? Like I saw 30 days ago. So when did you start this and how much hours of prompting and back and forth do you think it has been so far?
That's a good question. So I tweeted creating the project on March 16th. So 45 days ago, something like that, under 2 months. And I was to like an MVP a while ago. I've added some features since, and I've had some trouble getting it launched because one of the main functionalities is inviting users via SMS, and I am just
Okay.
back and forth fighting Twilio to get a phone number because they're not happy about the way I want to invite people, but we're gonna get there. Still getting that 10 DLC approval. But it is up and live. I got it up on Laravel Cloud for like internal testing, and I probably have sub 30 hours in at this point over the past month and a half, something like
Okay.
that.
That's relatively good though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's on the smaller side. It could be in that like 20-hour range. It's definitely like an hour or two in the evening when I get a free chunk of time, not a full-time thing. So,
Yeah. The first thing I want to look at is in that cursor page. Is there any custom, like in the cursor directory, I should say, not
mhm.
cursor directory?
Mm.
Is there any custom skills that you either had to add or it doesn't look like it? But was there anything that you're like, hey, you've gotten this wrong too many times. Make sure never to do it again.
Yeah, the only one that I added is this UI development skill.
Okay.
This is pulled over from a project that I was working on that wasn't in Laravel, and then I just customized it for this. So I
Nice.
gave it some things like the golden rule of UI design is a minimalist design with fun character because I wanted this app to have a fun feel, but not to have like a super bloated or big look. And then I added some of these things as I went throughout, like when working with ShadCM view components, sometimes it would make really wrong assumptions about the underlying APIs and how to use those components. And ShadCN under the hood for the version I'm using uses Rika UI. So I just told it directly, like, hey, go read that UI's API reference versus guessing at things because it was making some really stupid guesses. So there's some
Nice.
good little tweaks in here, and then the rest is really like domain specific. Like I wanted whenever you make a layout, it kept either having a gutter or not having a gutter or wasn't very
Yeah.
consistent. So I nailed a few things down like that.
Yeah, that you bring along another point that I think it's helpful, and the more you as a developer grow and you have these sort of opinions, I think
Hmm.
it's helpful for AI to look at past things that have done, whether that's like past skills that you're bringing over,
Hmm.
or I have a lot of success. Usually, I'll be like, hey. I did this in like a project 2 months ago. Here's the directory. Here is literally like how this is working and it's working fine in this other thing. Just copy that, but apply it to
Hmm.
this. Like, because there's
Hmm.
so much stuff that we don't need to reinvent the wheel, especially
Yeah.
if we know how it's
Mhm.
already done
Yeah.
or how we want it done.
I tweeted about this a little bit ago. It's something I learned pre this project, but have stuck to on this project. If if I'm prompting and it implements something incorrectly, whether it's the underlying code or, a UX or UI pattern that I don't like, instead of fixing it and moving on either with code or just prompting it to fix it, I will update some sort of skill or some sort of knowledge base and then say, "Hey, read this and revise it." Because then I know next time, I needed to make a button or I needed to make a new page. Next time I make that page, I don't want to be doing the same thing over again. So I almost treat
Mhm.
it like I'm teaching the AI or the model as I go, and I don't really want to be teaching it the same lessons multiple times. So that's really what I've used skills for the most, and I think have done really well is trying to correct those things once, and then if it
Mm,
does it wrong the next time, then I know that I can maybe update that or I need to solve some underlying problem, but I'll try to not tell it how to do it or fix it directly. I'll say, "Hey," I'll go update a skill, say, "Hey, read this skill and correct this yourself," so that I could get it right on the first one. And then I have a
mm.
relatively high level of confidence and could do it right the next time. And that's, I think, saved me a lot of time, not making the same fixes repeatedly.
Mhm.
So
I think
are
that's
are you
great. I think that's a great workflow to have too, is like that way you're not always having to say the same things. You're documenting like what you run into
Yeah.
and you're putting it in a skills file.
so are you manually updating that skill, or is that something that you're still prompting to update it in this certain way, and then you're telling it to check it again?
I feel like writing skills, maybe the AI writes them better than I do because it knows exactly what it wants. So I think the form submissions and data operations is a really good example. I definitely had it write this itself and it put some code in here specifically for it. I told it, "Hey, next time you do this, do it in this way and now go update this skill."
Yeah,
The like general rules that you'll see here about like the state transitions, the layout, the big picture, I wrote that myself and I want to
yeah,
keep writing it myself. I like,
Mhm.
you know, forcing myself to truly think through what I want before I get the AI involved. So it's not just like, "Hey, go write a skill telling the UI to be better." Like I
yeah.
think I want to define what that is. And I think it's helped
Mhm.
me get good results is because I'm still putting in the effort to define what the standard is and use my experience as well as what I know about UI and UX to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're still being opinionated. Like you're not just
Mhm.
accepting whatever AI gives you. You're being opinionated of how it looks, which I feel like is
For
kind of
sure.
key to getting the quality of code that you want.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm curious, but I know we're already kind of looking into it. I'm curious what the use delay form is because I'm curious where, and this is more of like, I'm just for anyone listening within inertia, like Pascal or Joe Tannenbaum, who might be listening to this, or I can pass it on. Why delayed form? Was there something in inertia that didn't work the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, so I believe that was a part of this like recent refactor that I was talking about, and and I don't know if the implementation of this is great, but essentially, what I wanted to happen is that when you submit a form, whether it submits in 0 milliseconds or 1,000 milliseconds, you
Mm,
see a loading spinner on the submit button for at least 300 milliseconds. Because
okay.
something I've learned is like if it shows for 100 milliseconds or 50 milliseconds, it looks and feels annoying because you almost didn't need that. So I'm delaying the UI slightly. It might save and be able to move me to that next screen or whatever the post submit action is faster than this. But regardless, I want to see that little spinner for just a second so that the user feels like, oh, something's happening, and then it moves to the next thing. So it wrapped, I believe, the form, yeah, it wrapped up some of
Yeah.
the inertia functionality for use form into this composable. But I essentially told it, "Hey, anytime you're creating a form that creates something, I want you to either delay it or delay it if necessary to show that spinner for at least 300 milliseconds." So that was like a UI decision, and the
Yeah.
inertia version wasn't wrong. Maybe it has this built in, and I didn't catch that, and AI didn't catch that, but that was like a UI UX decision made on top of the like built-in functionality.
And I do
Makes
see it
sense.
using use form, which
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if like you're having to like fake. this much out if you would want to use useForm instead of the form component. I feel like you could use the form component and still do this, but AI loves useForm. I will have to like handhold it to be like, please use the form component. And sometimes I have to like manually do it because it will default to useForm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't know. I'll have to double check with some of the inertia team, but I don't think this is possible. This is probably the right way to do it in that sense of like wrapping it all and
yeah,
not like always having a delay of at least 300 milliseconds.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Also, Carl was asking if we could open the app folder.
Let's do that next.
He's probably trying to steal my keys or something. We're on to you, Carl.
Okay, so Carl, surprisingly not. I mean, I have to double check of what the like default is within Laravel now, but I think it is the
Let me open a
same.
project.
It is. Yeah, I think we're pretty much the same. I think like services is the only one that is fine. Yeah, like that's typical standard. Yeah, so I think this is actually fairly good. Let's look at okay, events. So message sent. What's in HTTP? This is where we can get into where everyone pretty much guessed that controllers are going to be super messy. So let's look at those.
Yeah, let's look.
Okay. Where do you want to go first?
Group controller, group member controller, invitation.
This feels like a lot of controllers, right?
I would think so. So like, I think there's like two realm of thoughts typically, and people can die on both hills. I think of like people either choose to go very cruddy by design. And I think you have you don't change the names, and it's always post, put, patch, update, whatever the 7 are. Or people go. Usually, there seems to be no middle ground. AI loves the middle ground. I think of doing like these custom named methods. I prefer like invocable controllers, like single action controllers. CRUD is law, says Chip.
Hi, Chip, by the way.
CRUD is law.
Chip's on that CRUD train for sure.
Yeah, CRUD train. Yeah. I personally prefer action. Like what is a little bit newer method was be like single invocable controllers. So like anytime something does something, instead of having a bunch of controllers, you have actions for profile, and it's like delete profile, and that is its own class, its own file.
Yeah.
I'm guessing AI
I'm cruddy, I guess.
You're cruddy?
I think I'm cruddy. Yeah.
That's my live wire speaking though too. I just like I like knowing this is the one thing it does. That's right. That's right away.
I kind of don't like that. Now I want to test it, but when I think of it, I'm like, that's a lot of files. Like,
I mostly like I can't take full action. Well, I think Livewire is part of the reason why I like it, and then look like a lot of Nuno Maduro's stuff got a hold of me of like, oh, like let me just think about it in this way. And then the cloud
got
team
a hold of you is so funny. I just imagine like Nuno just grabbing you by your hair.
It's like use actions, only actions. But yeah, let's look at so one of the things I just looked at the commit messages, and it says install Breeze, but Breeze is an old version of authentication. So I'm curious what that did within Auth. So let's look in the Auth.
And Breeze is from what, Laravel 11? And I'm guessing you use Laravel 13 for this?
I think this is on 12. I'm pretty sure that I started it before 13, or at least when the installer was creating apps on 12.
Yeah, Composer.
Yeah, you were right around there because you said March something.
12.
Yeah, I think we're rocking 12.
Okay, we got Reverb, we got Sanctum.
I see Laravel Framework 12.0.
Fairly minimal apps. That's good. I like that.
Try to keep the packages just to what was needed.
There you go. There is a little bit of shout out. There is a Laravel boost skill to update to Laravel 13.
I did see that. Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I think that would be sick.
And to update Inertia V2 to V3.
Yeah. Did you say you were on Inertia V3 though?
No, I think it's V2. Where is
Yeah,
that in the
so,
pack?
yeah, inertia
I think
V2.
it's in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Oh,
we
here
see
it
it?
is.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, V2.
2.0. Yeah, so there's also a skill for that. And then you could refactor some of like Axios or fetch requests to use the use HTTPS hook that Josh mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And there's view transitions already built in to inertia V3 as well.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Raphael said Breeze did sneak into there.
Breeze did sneak
I
into
wonder
there.
if AI loves Breeze. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, let's
Laravel
see if
Breeze 2.4.
let's see if it shows up in my prompt log to see why. Nope, not that.
Yeah, because I wonder if you almost explicitly asked it. Because I know some people do like want to use Breeze still, and like that's a choice they make. But it'd be interesting if AI was just like, no, you're using Breeze today. Like we're bringing it.
I feel like I should try to find the like wherever the starter kit or whatever I used to start from, because I feel like that was a part of it. I also wonder if I think I might have tweeted about it too. So I'll try to go back and find it at some point.
Yeah.
The only interesting thing too is like if you Laravel nude, which you said you Laravel nude yourself, and you're using Laravel version 12, so the Laravel installer doesn't mention Breeze. For 12, it didn't. It mentioned like the React Vue Svelte starter kits.
So I'm guessing this was an AI thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
Probably when you're like, and that's one of the things I think is interesting, and one of the things I think we are always conscious of how can we make sure names are possible in the sense of okay, AI, you don't need Breeze, you need Sanctum, or you need Socialite if you're doing SMS.
Right.
Let's look into that auth controller then. I'm curious.
Also, sorry to distract. ChipBest is this JetBrains error. This is Cursor, right?
Yeah, it's in Cursor.
This is Cursor chip.
I'm rocking a dark theme so I don't get hate, because I'm normally rocking a light theme, but I'm just not trying to get hated on today. Okay.
Josh is pro light.
I'm pro light, even though all of my IDEs are dark, but like if I'm doing Codex, for example, like the Codex app, that's light mode. I like it in light mode.
Yeah, I'm normally, let's see, I'm gonna pop over.
Blind everyone.
I think I'm normally
let me close my eyes.
Light modern,
my
something like this.
So yeah,
it's just
that's
better.
That's not bad. I like the yellow light
chill.
modes. I honestly have Slack in light mode now, which is surprising for me.
Yeah, I do too.
I do not have Slack. I've never had
Twitter's in light mode.
Oh no,
Twitter's horrible in dark mode.
Feels like you need jail. No, it's only okay in dark mode.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the hate that I can't stomach.
I'm sorry, I'll dial it back. Twitter is wonderful in light mode.
All right, where do you want me to go in here?
Okay, so yeah, that is so all of those for auth. Yeah, so I think like for example, in the new starter kit, I'll have to pull open one that's not Laravel. I think we only have a verify email controller. Controller.
Here, I'll Laravel a new one while we're doing this.
There you go. Let's look at the confirmable password controller. Curious if this is Breeze or not. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head which ones are there. Let's look at the so all that looks good.
It's doing the right things. It's guarding. Doing the right things. It's confirming.
Hey, mommy, how are you doing? Let's look at the authenticated session controller. Okay, so this is a login view. So some of this, it doesn't look like Fortify is actually installed.
Sorry, I clicked stuff. Oh, it doesn't?
Can you go back to like your composer JSON? I'm curious of like if it's yeah. So I'm guessing if I had to guess of what
Fortify.
the AI was doing is like, oh, it needs Fortify, so let me install Breeze so that I can get
Oh.
Fortify through that.
And Lawrence said those are all Breeze default controllers pretty much.
There you go, Lawrence. I have not been in Breeze feels like 20 years ago, even though I know in AI world 3 months is a year. It's like dog years.
I started with Breeze and I loved Breeze, and there's so many like streams where on my personal channel where I was talking about Breeze, and now I can't remember like anything about Breeze.
It's been a while. Now I have my own like my opinionated starter kit. So I sometimes I have to like remember which one have I stripped out from the original starter kits as well.
I remember I just looked this up. I remember landing on a page that talked about Breeze and Jetstream, and I'm looking at it. It looks like it's from the 10 docs. I don't know if it maybe was on 11 like that too. It definitely wasn't on 12. So that's probably just a Jake error. But I remember being on that page because there's Breeze and it talks about how to use it with React and Vue, how to use it with all these different things. And then there was like just a short excerpt on Jetstream as well. And I was like, well, it seemed without the Laravel knowledge, like Breeze was the thing. And that was probably just some wrong documentation. I either got pointed to by Claude or a quick Google. And I probably just said, hey, use Breeze. And I wonder if the skills have then, because Breeze was installed, if it was like, hey, you should be using Breeze stuff, and that's what it's been pushing it towards as well. I don't see anything in here that would have been
because I don't
recommending
see
that
those
though.
controllers under if you just start a new app with Fortify and like Vue. I see like there's under app, there's like action/Fortify, and then you have like create new user.php and reset user password under that. I don't, otherwise I don't see all of those.
I do have an old Breeze app that I'm curious if those are the default controllers then.
So
HTTP
I was about
controllers.
to dig in my GitHub for one.
This might not actually be Breeze. Let's look at so I'm curious, what did you do? What did you know about testing? Specifically within Laravel, but I guess like overall too. And what were any preferences that you pushed into the app through testing?
zilch on both fronts. So I
like
mean, within Laravel, I know very little about testing. I think it asked me at some point whether to use one testing framework or another, and I chose one, I believe. And then from there, I just let it run. I have not at any point told it, hey, write tests in this way. I have seen where it will make a change and then it will rerun the test, and it does that pretty much every time. And when the tests fail, it'll realize its mistakes and fix it. So they have seemed to be working to keep the things that it writes tests for at least from not breaking. Whether those tests are correct or not, again, I haven't done a lot of validation of. So my testing knowledge within Laravel is at pretty much zero. So I had zero opinions on that. That's definitely been the category that I have not reviewed. I haven't touched. I didn't give it any specific direction for.
I like that.
Do you know which testing one you chose? Because I'm guessing it asked between pest and PHP unit.
Yeah,
I think
like
pest. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And again, that's this is probably not the best way to be making tech choices, but for a demo dummy app that's for fun, I had just seen pest around in the community, and I thought that may have been maybe the preferred path at this point, and so that's what I went with.
Yep.
Does that sound fair?
No, that's fair. I think that's
fair.
the default option as well too. So it's like one of those things. If you don't touch anything, you just press enter.
For sure.
It's going to use
And I've used is PHP unit the alternative?
Yeah, and PHP unit is just class-based testing, where pest would be more of like the functional test.
For sure. Yeah, and I have some PHP unit experience, just a little bit, and it wasn't my favorite. So that was the other reason. I'm like, yeah, let's try something new.
Let's see some of the feature tests. I'm curious. Okay, so we got some. Let's do the maybe the invitation test. That sounds good.
Okay.
One of the things that I have seen testing get better, of course, but one of the things I've seen that AI kind of lack a little bit when it comes to tests is not utilizing seeded information or like refreshing the database when it shouldn't, like those kind of things.
Or wiping a database. My God, it loves to do that.
It's like, oh, oops.
Common
The
L.
test, it will like
Hopefully you didn't need
completely
that.
refresh and drop stuff.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
I like some of this stuff though.
Don't ask me how I know about the wiping database stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in here that is created specifically based on features that I prompted. So,
Got it.
when creating a user, it should be normalizing to a 10-digit US phone. Sorry if you're not in the US. I'm working on this from the US for now. So that's what the tests are reflecting. That is the functionality of the app right now. So it did that and it's tested against that. That actually broke at some point and then got fixed. So I think that even without a lot of work on the tests, I think that they have helped the AI to catch it essentially going back on things that it maybe should remember, but because you don't have an unlimited project context and it's not going to read the whole project every time it goes to work on a feature, I think that the test that it's written has helped it from shooting itself in the foot by going to do something and messing up something that it's done previously. So the type of thing you would know if you were writing this feature is like, oh, when I write this, that's going to mess this up. Now I need to go kind of rectify that. It doesn't do that as well as I would. I probably just because of the context. So you can do that and say, hey, when you go to work on this, don't break this or adjust in this way. But if you don't, I feel like the tests do play a pretty good baseline role of keeping it from breaking itself.
Yeah.
I feel like these look pretty good. Like these tests look pretty normal. They don't look like
not too weird, not
me.
broken.
No.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes that it might, especially, before maybe like Opus 4.5, before that, it was definitely more of like these, oh, we're testing for something that's not it like that's not going to save you if anything breaks anyways. It's like, oh, we're testing for like this particular thing. But I think it's gotten models have gotten better within that understanding, kind of like what you mentioned, Jake, of like, oh, hey, this is, maybe it's not testing for like the specific feature, but it is testing so that this is the standard functionality. If something changes in this code, this is probably going to break if we don't retest it.
Yeah. And like kind of what Josh was saying too, when I noticed whenever I was trying to add more tests, sometimes AI likes to just add a bunch of tests. And then you're like, hey, you're testing something that like we're not even going to run into. Like it's not possible for this test to ever fail. Like, why are we testing for this? I don't really see, I mean, without knowing more context of the app, I don't see any tests like that here. All these tests seem like actual valid tests.
Yeah. No, as I'm seeing these, I mean, these are based on the functionality of the application. So if a user accepts an invite, that pending invitation, or if you invite someone who's already a member, it won't create a new account. It'll, accept the invitation to that team instead of, creating a new account. The tests seem to line up with how the app should work.
So I'm curious, if you open up a terminal and rerun PHP artisan test, how many tests are there?
All right, let's do it. What are our runs?
I thought you wanted to check if any fail.
Yeah, oh, that too, I guess. PHP artisan test. Because I have seen AI be like, we only have like 80 passing, but that's good enough for now. Okay, there you go. 125
all passed.
tests with 404
passing tests, baby.
That's pretty good. See, I love that I got into Laravel and also just became a better developer at the right time, because I have not written a single test by hand.
Yeah, for
ever,
sure.
And it's amazing. And I've written a lot of tests now, or AI has written a lot of tests.
Yeah, that's great. I do feel like that's a pretty So it's hard to know because I'm a noob to Laravel specifically what has helped the process.
Mm,
But from my perspective, from how often I've seen the tests get called and either be successful and then the feature is successful, or get called, fail, and then it either adjusts the test because I adjusted the feature,
mm,
or fix the thing that was breaking the test, has been really helpful. And I haven't seen it which because I was looking out for this, I haven't seen it say this test is failing. Let me adjust the test when it should have fixed the functionality.
yeah,
So it's possible that may have happened, but I've been pretty careful to keep an eye on that. And
yeah,
it has almost always said, "Oh, test has failed. What do I need to fix? Is it the test because the user asked me to change something, or is it the function?" Or is it the functionality because it's not working correctly? And it's made a good call all the times that I've checked,
no.
which I'm happy
I'm
with.
also a little curious. Did you tell it to write test, or this is something like when you were doing the plan mode, it just automatically like decided it was going to write tests for the features?
Yeah, no prompting. I'm never prompting to write a test. So my guess is it's pulling from either Boost, or it just is because of the project setup. It's writing tests, but almost always when I prompt it to add a feature, it adds the feature, it gets working, and then it says now writing tests, and it does it.
Yeah.
And I've never once said, "Hey, create this feature," and then when it's working, write tests for it, or a TDD style flow where I say, here's the functionality, go write tests and then implement. So I think
No.
it's doing it in the non TDD style for sure, because I
Mhm.
haven't seen it do tests up front. So I could probably prompt for that if I cared, but I haven't given it literally any testing um, like input.
I'm curious,
I
and
love that.
anyone in the comments or in the chat, I'm curious if anyone is doing TDD within AI. I
Yeah.
personally have not, and it seems like more people are in the realm of. I think within the testing skill within Laravel Boost, I think we do kind of recommend doing it the other way around of like
Hmm.
tests at the end after the feature has been produced. But I'm curious if like there have been people who have found a lot of success within TDD within AI. But I think this is one of those benefits of having a full stack batteries included opinionated framework where
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know it's you're building this thing that you're creating, and because testing is part of the framework and because
Hmm.
all of those things are aligned, it's like, oh, I know that now if something breaks or if the test fails, I need to change something and not the
Yep.
other way around kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do think some people do TDD, but I think so. Christoph, I think, has a video on this. I've seen some other people mention it. Like, I don't know if it was Nuno or who, but I think those that are doing TDD are hand writing the test first
Mm,
Hmm.
and then having AI generate the code based on the test.
that
So
is very
then they're
interesting.
they're like being opinionated, hand writing the test, not having AI
Yeah.
generate it, and then having AI generate the code based on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I also haven't, for what I haven't done, I haven't ever told it to run the tests. And at no point was I like, "Hey, when you create features, run the test." So
Mhm.
obviously, the skills and the initial setup are doing their job, because the tests are getting run at least when features that are developed that should be either retested, or that suite should get ran. So I'm never running it to check it. This is the first time I've run it myself, except in the
Mhm.
deployment pipeline. So good to see that they're passing, and AI hasn't been lying to me the whole time.
Yeah, no, they look good. And then Dirk said, when using AI and in new AI projects, I ask it for 100% coverage and it's in the rules.
Yeah.
And then having it run against test, rector, PHP stand, pent, or pint with max strictness and 100% on all of those at least ensures the AI slop is 100% nice AI slop.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
love that.
that's reasonable.
Did we dive
Artisanal
into the
AI
other
stuff.
controllers that weren't just the auth ones?
We haven't looked too much into those yet. I'm curious of those, and then like the events and broadcasting queues,
Hmm.
those kind of things.
Hmm.
HTTP controllers, maybe
Which one
like
do we want to
the
look at?
message controller. That seems like
That could be
that's
good.
probably one that is likely. Yeah, broadcasting.
Hmm.
Okay,
I
so
see
this
the
could
comment
probably
now.
there you go, store.
Yeah.
So this would probably be one where it's like it was trying to do cruddy by design, but it should have just been like an invocable controller.
Mm.
Of like, hey, store message request as an action or as like as a single controller, because that's the only thing in here.
Yeah.
I would much rather prefer, I'm curious if you guys do. I would much rather prefer, though, fewer and more files than one file with 30 public functions or something like that.
I kind of like them all together, but I can agree with you that if this is the only thing in the controller, maybe just have it
Yeah.
be invocable. Like I can agree with that. If you had like 14 different methods in this controller, I would not agree on making them all their invocable
Right.
actions or whatever.
Yeah, I tend to lean a little bit more, without the specific Laravel knowledge, I tend to lean a little bit more of like grouping things together into one place. I don't know if that comes from my like view single file component brain where it just makes sense to put things together and have all of the logic in one place for it to be kind of easily
Mhm.
scannable to me, like what's in here. I can collapse this and be like, okay, within messages we can store, we can XYZ. That works in my brain, but I also get how you can, pop open your file explorer and see that at a glance here as well if they're kind of named in that way. So
Yeah.
that's some of the types of things that I would have argued pretty hard, in the past too. And now it's like you
Doesn't
have
really
to
matter
argue
as much.
based on the like technical, like, hey, is this going to cause an issue or not? And then if not, give it a skill with your preference and move on, like let's not bike shed it.
What's the group controller?
Yeah.
Because this is one where it's like there's a lot of there's not as much names as you would have thought, or even there's no directories in those controllers to group them.
Even the display a listing of the resource, I feel like that doesn't really explain what it's doing. So these definitely feel like AI comments to me.
I think I could be
Or you
wrong,
think
but
this is
I
good?
think those might be the like if you run a full resource controller artisan command, I think these are
Does
the
it
default
generate
comments.
those? Oh,
Like a
okay.
display a listing. It's like the CRUD.
Yeah, let me check
I
right
don't think
now.
I ever
I'm
ran the
pretty sure
resource
that's correct.
command.
PHP artisan make
It probably
controller.
is.
I'm gonna call this group controller just so I can see. And it's going to be a resource controller. Yes. So those are, so I would guess that this is like
All
the,
of them?
yep, all of them.
Okay.
So all 7. The index, create, store, show, edit, update, destroy.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a few other ones sprinkled
Okay,
in
so
this year.
it did add some more.
Yeah.
Edit, update, destroy. Oh
Which
wait,
ones did it add?
show events.
These are for like pages that are like sub pages of this group. So you've got like an inertia view up here. This is part of that refactor that I was talking about. You've got your like main inertia view for groups index. And then within that, you've got these controllers, which are being, I think they're rendering inertia as well. Yeah, they're like sub pages.
So it's funny. It's probably it made it all 7 CRUD, and then like during the refactor, it's like instead of creating a new controller, I'll just throw this in there one there.
Yeah.
Where would those go if they weren't in here? Would it be like a like group routes controller, or like where would those normally get refactored out to? Individual controllers per route?
Yeah, so this is one where my preferences do not fall into the line of most people, but I would probably, if I was most people, I would say like it would probably be then a group people controller, and so then that'd be looks like a list.
Yeah.
Like a show. I should say instead of or like an index would be the show people.
Yeah.
And show person would be the show, because that's displaying a specific one.
Right.
So I think those would be like, if you were wanting to keep it like the cruddy by design, it's like, okay, that just becomes its own group people controller. Okay.
Dirk said group people controller, have it resourceful as well. So like what Josh was saying, with doing like the PHP artisan command to make a resource controller. to be consistent. Josh,
But it
how would
is
you personally do it if you were not most people?
if I was not most people, either, and if I was using inertia, either I wouldn't, I would probably do it all as invocable actions. So it would be like one directory of like HTTP controller actions, and then it would be like the show person controller, and it would be the list person controller. And so it's like grouping them into, and I'll probably put them into like then like a person directory too to make it a little bit more cleaner. I like I prefer a lot of directories, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It like kind of mirrors the architecture of the app or your like data model at that point.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But it is, I'm glad that AI is moving more towards, instead of it having like this show person, everything like that, it defaulted to like the cruddy aspect because it probably ran the PHP artisan command. And it's like, okay, this is what it's giving me. Let me fit into this instead of trying to make its own brain.
And then it just added a little flair. It's like, but let's deviate a little bit from CRUD. But it did like it started off really strong. And I honestly I also don't feel like this is like an awful controller.
Yep.
Like it feels pretty fine. Like obviously you do have CRUD at and then it's like let's add some sparkle and it went off of that, but it's not like doing completely rogue stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's gonna package a skill with like with their very specific preferences for how all that stuff gets built, and that's something I might as I like learn and iterate on this as well too. I might write a skill and then have it refactor to that. Install Josh's skill for the way he would structure it, and then have it refactored that setup. That would be pretty interesting.
I was about to say,
how that goes.
Josh is probably working on it as we talk. You just see him like typing, making this invocable action.
Do you have something like that, Josh, or would you tell it like, hey, when you create this, go do it in this way? But like when you're vibe coding or agentic engineering, are you giving it that info so it does it how you want it, or do you have some sort of skill you're pre-writing and pulling between projects?
Yeah, if this is likely a project that I'm spending more than just, hey, this is a demo I'm putting together, I'm spending more time on it, I probably start from either I'm using my own preferential starting point, which has skills of, okay, anytime we are doing something that needs to be abstracted from a Livewire controller or Livewire act method, for example, then we're going to run the PHP artisan make action, which is a separate package. Within inertia, I typically in the like I either install, so like for example, Nuno Maduro has some what was called like this essentials package, which has a little bit more of those stricter opinions.
Yeah.
Not just for testing, but with Rector. It has preference for invocable controllers and actions. So I probably would, if not at the very like initial prompt or in like the agents.md, I would probably like say, this is my preference. If I see it doing a little bit different than that, I probably wouldn't directly fix it until I get to like the refactoring stage.
Yeah, makes sense. Someone was looking for an idea earlier. If you want an idea, you could make a little like skill generator that asks like top 10, preference questions, and then spits out a skill into your project that you could like run Laravel new, run this, and then it, use that for like your best practices. It'd be kind of cool.
I also wonder if you could build something like that and then like you connected it to your GitHub account and you like chose certain repositories to train it off of. Just like look at these projects and then you're like create a skill based on like how I write my code.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's really cool.
It is a very neat idea. I do like that. You might have to bring it to the internal Slack too, because like
I think
it's nice to be able to not force people, but maybe nudge people into having their own opinions when you're working with AI. And so it's like one of those things where like, oh, do you do you like, it could be front end stuff or back end stuff. Like, do you like working with notifications versus mailables? And like all these things, it doesn't really matter, but it does if you're writing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Even for like the way, everyone gets the same Laravel starter screen spit out and whatever. If you said mention front end, if you had a couple config options that got put into the ShadCN config where they pick their theme, or they get to pick like whimsy versus minimal versus, whatever the different things are, it could also make it feel like your project, even from Laravel new, so that when you get it, you've picked a few things. You're like, oh, this isn't just the Laravel, this is my Laravel.
Yeah.
And also, like, how a lot of vibe coded apps are looking the same? I wonder if you do something like that and you're like, you spend a good amount of time on like a skill or whatever that's like telling it specific ways to do things, so it's not just defaulting to the way AI would do it. If that would help you get an app from the start that's closer to what you would actually want and doesn't just look like everyone else's AI project.
Yeah.
I also really like this from Chase.
Yeah, that's really cool. Last thing on that, like little rabbit hole for someone like me who's like new to the ecosystem and without opinions yet. Maybe Boost has like an extra skill called like Taylor's opinions, or like Laravel team opinions, that gives it that layer, like, hey, we probably don't want to install this for people who know more what they want and want to pick that themselves, but Boost does a really good job making sure you don't do something that's going to break your app, be insecure, do something stupid. But if you layered the set of like default opinions on top of that, it may avoid some of this type of stuff for the new people. And then as they read their code to learn it, they're seeing like the most idiomatic version. And then if they end up saying, yeah, actually, I want to go a different route, or I have a different opinion on that, they can like choose that and tweak it. But maybe there's like one extra layer on Boost or another agent or another skill you can add on top that's like, if you don't know what you want, you should probably listen to this. We got you.
I think we added that a little bit, and I think it was added like after you started this project, but we did add a Laravel best practice skill.
Oh,
so
cool.
There is that one. We probably could do something even more opinionated too, though, where it's like Taylor's preferences or whatever. Like if he has specific ways he would do, kind of like how Josh was talking about, how he would use invocable actions and stuff like that, just like super tailored to his opinion. I think that would be really cool to offer, like you said, especially for people who are trying to like vibe code. So I really like that idea.
Yeah, I'll have to install that.
Yeah, and I know that Taylor did put out a Claude rules, which is a little bit different than skills. What they had their own like thing. He put out his own specific one, but then there are some like community ones. I'll put one in the chat as well. That is a Laravel "What would Taylor Otwell do" skill, which I know that
that's good.
we've shared as well.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, tailored by Taylor would be so good though.
That's pretty good.
He's on to something. We got to start messaging Pete when we're trying to name things.
Yeah. Tailored by Taylor.
New consultant, Laravel consultant, Pete Bishop.
There you go.
And then pinning what Josh was talking about, notes on laravel.com/Laravel, what would Taylor Otwell do?
And he has like a own little Boost skill that you can install if you want to look through that. But there's some fun. I know that I believe Taylor might have retweeted this or comment on it. It was there's some good stuff in there for sure if you're interested.
That's sweet.
Also, we're coming up on an hour and a half of being on stream. Do we want to start wrapping up, or do we want to go a little bit longer and review the code a little bit more?
It's up to you guys. If there's a thing or two still you want to see, I'm okay, or we can kind of wrap it up if you're happy with our review.
I think the one thing that I'm interested to see as well, like you kind of mentioned you were a lot more hands on the front end, so I don't think we need to look too much about that. But the two things I'd love to see is like the events, and any kind of queues kind of sent. So it looks like only one message sent. So you're using Reverb for like the chat. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'd also like to see routes eventually, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So
so
to
really
broadcast,
simple.
no, we got private channel, so it has only for authenticated users.
Yep.
I love it. That works great.
This looks pretty normal.
What was the process of getting Reverb set up locally? How did that work well for you? Were there any like hiccups with that?
I don't think so. So if I remember correctly, that was probably like 4 weeks ago. So done
Yeah.
some stuff since. But I think I told it, hey, I want chat. And I knew about Laravel Reverb, but I didn't prompt it that. It told me, hey, you're gonna need Laravel Reverb, and installed it. It created the events and then updated the front end to work with that. Anything that needed to be updated, and it tied things together. And then I believe I said, okay, now what do I need to do to actually run Reverb? I don't think it gave me any info on that.
Yeah.
And it told me, and then I got that running in a process inside of Solo. I'm running everything through Solo. So I
Nice.
just set that up in a process, hit start, went and sent a message, and it was very, very cool to I pulled up, 2 windows so I could see it pop through on both and see it persist across. So I do remember bumping into the queue related issue because
Mhm.
I was like, I think what happened is I sent the message and then I would refresh the other page and it would be there. So I knew that it was working, but I didn't have a queue running because I hadn't
Yep.
needed it for anything else locally yet. So if I remember correctly, that's where I hit that. And I could have just set up a queue, but because I knew I didn't want that running in a queue, I was like, okay, what are the ways to fix this? And it said
Mm.
either start running a queue or switch over to the broadcast on send or whatever the option is there.
Yep.
And I flipped that config option and we're off to the races.
Sweet.
So not
I
too
love it.
bad. The actual running reverb was super smooth. I think if someone maybe had even less experience with web development with Laravel, it could have been a little bit trigger. They may need to ask more questions to get there, but all the packages and everything, it ran smoothly. It didn't error on running or anything like that. It was just knowing that if it said, hey, either you need to be running a queue or change this option, you're like, okay, I don't know what a queue is. You probably still have some more research to do from there, but obviously I had that like background already.
I love that it brought in reverb without you specifically asking to.
Yeah.
I love that it did that. And then we have Mr. Boost himself in the chat now.
Mr.
Hi,
Boost himself.
pushback.
Hey, pushback.
And Pete said, if you struggle with reverb, Laravel Cloud will happily host it pre-configured.
There you go.
Yeah, and this is launched on on Laravel Cloud, and the reverb setup could not have been easier. So 2 clicks, and we're good to go.
Fantastic.
All right,
Okay,
you said
we
you
want to
wanted
look
to
at
see
the routing,
you
Leah.
want to see routes.
Yeah, I want to see routes. I feel like normally routes are fine. Sometimes it can do weird stuff. Like I feel like sometimes it like you'll have all your routes written one way and then it will like generate it a different way. Like sometimes it just likes to be a little spicy.
All right, tell me where am I looking? I
So
don't
this
think
would be in
Oh
the whole routes directory.
gotcha, outside of app.
Yep.
Yeah. And then what, PHP? Do we want to go? There's a couple of them.
Yep. So probably web. I took a look just now. It looks like you have your app at app dot domain, and then landing, I'm guessing, is how it's separated out specifically for marketing page.
Yeah. The marketing page is literally just so I have something to point Twilio to because they're still pissed that this is not a real company. So I didn't even want that, but I needed to have something up. So there is a little landing page, and that's why where the landing comes from versus web.
Let's go to web PHP.
Okay.
I'm curious, did you say to put it into a separate thing at all, or was that how it defaulted to?
I think it asked me, and I just asked for it to be a separate route.
Okay.
I believe it asked or it recommended that, and I was cool with it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because I have them running on separate domains, so it felt without the like underlying knowledge, it felt like that made sense to be more separated. Especially as they grow down the road, they could be more different. So
this looks good to me. Mine always tries. I'm wondering if I just use dumb models because mine always tries to like put its own functions and stuff here. Like it doesn't just use like my controllers or anything. Yeah. Maybe it's user error or maybe I'm using dumb models, but this looks good to me.
This is very clean, all things
looks solid.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, this is very clean. I was expecting at least 1 or 2 like creating the route within here, but no.
Yeah, I didn't know how I knew about middleware and I knew it was doing auth, but I didn't know that this kind of you call the middleware and then within that group you can register these routes. So this is a really clean way to do it. That's nice. It's interesting that the dashboard versus the rest of these, why is that getting registered separately?
I would assume the dashboard is still left over from
The starter kit.
when your starter kit, and so it likely didn't just refactor that into the middleware group that you have. Which do you still use that /dashboard page?
No, I don't think so.
That's probably it too. It probably deleted the view, I'm guessing. Like that route groups.index. Okay, so there's the groups.
Do you see it?
Group index controller.
Where?
I'm looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it again. Let's see. Groups. Okay, yeah. So it is.
It's the same. Yeah.
It is the same route as / Okay, I see. Yeah. So essentially, that's not necessary. I'm guessing. That dashboard.
Yeah. It's just another path to get to something that does still exist. Yeah.
But this is still very clean. And we're just realizing what we maybe have like 1 or 2 unnecessary routes.
Yeah.
So overall, not that bad.
Leftovers.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I like it.
It's not too bad.
Then I guess like if we looked at one page, like what would be a page that has like the most requests to inertia within the JS? So resources JS is where these front end pages are going to live.
Let's see. Probably maybe like the creation or editing of events page.
Okay.
Because you've got an event, and then within the event you can RSVP yes or no. There may be some other requests being made from that page. So let's see. We'll go up to got an authenticated layout in here. And then let's see the like inertia code. Okay, yeah, so here's your update RSVP function.
A lot of I know that AI loves doing like some of those like router.delete, router.post, which again isn't wrong. They just like drilling into the underlying functions and methods versus the niceties, I guess.
Yep.
Which isn't wrong.
So is there like an inertia function that you would call versus this to accomplish this?
What is this using? A form? Is this a form or?
Let's see. Is there a use form or is there a form on the page? There might not be a form because the creation isn't on this page. So if I went to events, there's probably a form for the creation of an event. And this looks like it's a regular form, so we probably have a use form happening. Use delayed form, which wraps form. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we've got a form. And then
I feel like usually I just use, especially now, I use the form component from inertia, and then I don't have to specifically say router.post or .delete and all of that. Right, Josh?
Yeah, which would be a little bit more, it's very more specific. So this would be one of those things where, especially with an inertia v3 or even just with Wayfinder, which doesn't, I think Wayfinder was installed, but doesn't look like it defaulted to using too much, is where it has those named routes as types. So instead of posting to this just string of groups.events.store, it's going to be a type that it's actually submitting to.
Yeah, makes sense. That's a cool package.
It is a very neat package. It's one of those things where I never liked types before AI, and now that AI is writing all of them, I'm fine with them.
Yeah, super nice.
I liked them. Well, also because I was burned by using regular JavaScript on the front end and then running into errors way down the line that I didn't know existed. So when I learned TypeScript, I was like, oh, we're going with types.
Mhm.
But I do like
We're
that
going
AI
there.
can generate them for me.
Mhm.
And I did look at the form, and if you use the form component from Inertia, you can write forms more like a native HTML form.
Mhm.
And then you would say like action is slash whatever, and then you can put there like method equals post. So you're not
Mhm.
having to like specify all the
Yeah.
other things. So let me link that. But this is
Little
I'm looking
nice.
at the V3 docs, but I think the form was in V2 as well.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
they just updated it. Yeah. Gave it some more
Give it some life.
functionality. Yeah.
Awesome. I don't think I have anything else to see. Like I think the takeaways for me is that especially with you, Jake, having a little bit more opinions of like you're like, hey, I've already done this specifically with like UI, or I know
Mhm.
that I want this to be, faster or
Mhm.
show this particular thing. Like that's where AI specifically, but then within the constraints of Laravel seem to do really well,
Mhm.
where you like, even if it's not okay, it's not structured maybe within like the directories as most people might do it, or even as preferences. It's still easy to digest,
Mhm.
specifically within the AI. And all those tests look great. I like those tests.
The tests are really good. They're way better than I would expect them to be. Like I didn't see any unnecessary tests.
Mhm.
I'm just realizing I'm probably using outdated models because all of this looks better than what I get from AI sometimes. Um, but I'd say one of my big takeaways too is I really like what you did of updating your skills and like also like trying to manually update your skills to be
Mhm.
opinionated based on
Mm,
what you would want. And that if you notice an issue with what AI is giving you, you don't just like argue with it back and forth like, hey, don't do this. You go
Mhm.
to your skills and you update the skills and then tell it to read that in to then fix it. Because I really think that helped with the quality. And I'd like to
Mhm.
test it, but I feel like that's something going forward I would want to put into my AI workflow as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
what do you think, Jake? I'm curious of like, let's say you didn't have AI at all for this. Like, what do you think would be the piece that you would have had to like spend the most time with, or maybe just like within the documentation, you're like, oh, I definitely would have had to look up that, because it seems like you definitely knew what needed to happen in order to get
Mhm.
all this. But you weren't relying on AI to be like, oh, how am I going to do this? Oh, you need a queue for that.
Yeah.
So what would be the pieces where like you either spend so much time, or you just knew that that would be what you had to rely on the AI's knowledge more for?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think if I was handwriting, there would not be 144 tests. Um, and so, that was a benefit. I probably would need them a little bit less as well
Mm,
because I have that mental context always running, but that would be different across a team as well, where, if I am working on half of it and someone else is working on half, they're not always going to know what else has been done. And so I think a team working on a product would make those tests even more valuable so you don't step on someone else's toes because you're not always going to know what else has been done on the project outside of you, or a large project that you've worked on it long enough you've forgotten. So definitely the test coverage would be about 144 tests less, or a lot more time on that. But I think that would probably come later for me in the process versus kind of getting it for free is super super nice. And then I think probably just the Laravel way of doing things, where
mm,
I want to create a page that does some stuff. I need to know about, controllers. I need to know about creating the inertia view. I need to, create the model for the data that's going to be on that page. So for any given feature, there's, 4 to 6 Laravel concepts you have to
yeah,
have a base to maybe higher than base level knowledge of that
Mhm.
the AI gives you a huge leg up on when you know what you want and you know how to spec that out properly. That I think what I could get out of Laravel without that domain specific knowledge and just my general web development knowledge is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So I definitely would have just been essentially, if I didn't have AI, I probably would have printed the whole Laravel docs and read them so that I knew how to do the Laravel stuff, or at least the, the main functionalities. And I can kind of do that in reverse now. As I now have a functioning app, I can go see, oh, this route uses these middleware leading to these
Mm.
controllers rendering these views, calling these, models and different things. So that's a different way to learn. I don't know if it's better or worse, but being able to get to here with a functioning MVP without any major holes, I think I'm pretty impressed and happy with. And now it also gives me more motivation to go learn those underlying concepts so I can help it and produce better code on my own.
Yeah.
I think that like way of building kind of follows a lot of people when they like talk about learning in public and like just building,
Yeah.
when people are asked like what's the best way to learn, like I always say, I think Josh says it, like the best way to learn is to build things. So
Yeah.
just jump in and start building things using Laravel. And it sounds like AI just enabled you to do that even faster, right? Because you didn't have to
Yeah.
go straight to the docs right away or like watch a tutorial. Instead, you were able to jump in with AI to start building in
Yeah.
Laravel. But I do have a question because I know people are always like, oh, if you don't know something, you shouldn't use AI for it. So my question is, how much like do you feel like you were able to learn stuff about conventions in Laravel and about
Mm.
Laravel by building this using AI?
That's a good question. I think on this call that I could and did, and I think maybe continued to give me that high level view. But as far as truly understanding what's happening under the hood, it's almost because you can get so far without knowing, especially on the back end side of things. I feel like the front end that hasn't been quite as true, but on the back end side of things, because you can get so far and develop robust features, using
Yeah.
Reverb, using WebSockets, like not just like basic, very, very basic CRUD stuff, but relatively robust features without doing that.
Mhm.
I don't think that it necessarily taught me a lot of Laravel up to this point. I probably could have, developed a feature and then said, tell me the things involved in building this feature that you did and explain those to me and then dove into it. But
Yeah.
because I was kind of in a builder mindset and focused on that
Mhm.
on this specific project, which isn't how I'm building things in my day to day, where I'm building production grade applications with technology that I know. But because I was in my vibe coding era, I was able to accomplish a lot. And because I was able to, I didn't, unless I hit a roadblock, I didn't dive into the decisions that it was making or really what features were being used under the hood to get there.
Yeah. So it
But I
sounds
love that
like,
it enabled you to do that. Oh, sorry, Josh.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it sounds like with that, it was more of a, uh, not only did you have the prior knowledge to come into it with this overall architectural thing of like, oh, I know
Right.
how I want this app to work, but you did effectively come away with more, maybe not maybe more knowledge, but more of like, I don't know, uh,
Like a higher level
instrumentation, yeah,
understanding?
high level understanding of like, oh, now like there's a reason why I'm using a WebSocket for this and like
Yeah,
a queue for this
for sure.
because everything's kind of built in
Yeah.
and included with that,
Yeah,
even if you don't necessarily know how it's working behind the scenes
for sure. Yeah.
or even care to.
And again, that's like why I think it's going to free people up to move very freely between platforms and between programming languages, because a lot of the concepts are are very similar across, and it's the very, domain specific. It's knowing Laravel. But if you've been working on Rails for 10 years and you want to move over to Laravel, the vast majority of what you need to know about programming, and it will translate really fast. And it's always translated, but there
Mm.
was that learning the syntax gap, which took a decent
Mhm.
amount of time. Learning the syntax, learning the ecosystem. This kind of allows you to temporarily, at least if you have the programming knowledge, I think you can temporarily skip that learning the syntax step and get to building and productive, I don't think you can skip that step forever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for you to skip that step forever, but I think it will help people cross over, learn new things more quickly, and adapt their deep programming knowledge across different like paradigms a lot quicker. I mean, because I know cues from Craft CMS, from general programming knowledge, because I know the different things that work, how authentication works, how route guards work, all of those things. It's just how does Laravel choose to do those things that I still have to learn, and pretty excited about
Mhm.
that part still.
I think that highlights too, like how important architecture and stuff is now in the age of AI versus like just the syntax and like semantics and stuff. But it's more so like spending time on like creating skills and like being opinionated about how the code is being generated or like how
Hmm.
the design's going to look and about the general architecture of the application. But then you can just like create an app and then later you can dive deeper into like Laravel or PHP and like go into the docs to really get that like
Yeah,
deeper understanding. But you don't necessarily have to do that first to get something up and running now.
yeah,
Yep. I like it.
I like it too. I think the stream was great. I think the code was like way better quality than I was expecting to. Like, how would we rate it? I know chat was saying they were thinking it'd be like mid-level. How would we rate the code we saw?
I personally I think I would probably rate it a 7 out of 10, honestly. So I think like I think it's mid-level, but it's working. It's doing what you expect
Hmm.
to do, and it's one of those things where it's still maintainable at this point.
right.
It's not like oh these are all going to break as soon as you like write something else. So I think
Yeah,
that's the thing that maybe surprised me the most is that like
Hmm.
I wouldn't, if I was jumping into your code, I wouldn't start immediately refactoring. I
for
would
sure.
probably be like, oh,
Hmm.
let's build another feature and then we'll
Yeah,
eventually start it. So I
yeah,
think 7.5 out of 10 would for me.
Yeah, it wasn't spaghetti
Production.
code. I was kind of expecting some spaghetti code. Yeah, what Dirk
for
said
Yeah.
was
sure.
funny. That I've seen production code that was way worse.
Like all the like one a single function within a route, and it's like, and oh, this
Yeah,
should be a controller, those
yeah,
kind of things.
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
That's what I've had AI generate for me. Like it'll
Yeah,
put the functions in the routes and stuff, and then it's like some of mine are just using the controller, and then others it tries to like explicitly create a new function, and I'm like, why are you not looking at the controllers? Which is why I think I've been using very dumb models. um,
Yeah,
or I get mad at how the models used to do it, so then I would just manually do it.
that's awesome.
Yes, the people grouping controllers and folders, etc.
hmm,
No joke.
Mm,
But no, I think the code was good. I think I'd say probably 7 as well. Like I thought the quality was really good. If anything, it just like had what, like a little bit of repetition, like a tiny bit, like in the
hmm,
routes it had some things it could have removed. Like you could have cleaned it up a little bit, or you could
right,
have extracted some of the things that add in that one controller to be its own controller. But like
yeah,
overall, it wasn't bad. Like it didn't feel like you would touch it and it would break stuff, or it's not spaghetti code where you can't
right,
understand what's going on. Like it was really, really good quality.
yeah,
yeah. And that was kind of because I thought that I could get this outcome was one of the reasons why I chose Laravel for this project for now, is because um, it's an opinionated, well structured framework and its batteries included. So I knew I could tie my front end with my back end with opinions, and because of that, and then I think the Laravel boost as well, which kind of guides your different. I use a couple different models and couple different skills and things that I wrote throughout. I think like
Mhm.
that guidance that you get out of the box for free to do things the Laravel way keeps you from shooting your foot in a lot of areas. And so I do think that that's a like a competitive advantage that Laravel has because of just what it is, as well as some of the
Mhm.
work that the Laravel team's been putting into optimizing it to work for, for people like me who may want to try it out or dip their toe in or use it on a project that aren't a seasoned Laravel developer yet. So I think it's pretty cool. I'm glad it held up to my expectations.
I'm
yeah.
glad too. I know Josh has written a blog or X article about this too, about like how Laravel being so opinionated itself is what makes it so good to use with
For
AI
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of goes along with my own thoughts. And I think just I don't think it's just my own, like even Taylor and other people that we've had on the stream, and a lot of people, it's one of those things where, kind of like you said, Jake, a lot of like those preferences and opinions that you had for front end helped it make better. So not
For
only
sure.
do I think we as developers or people who are learning to be developers need to start having like, oh, I prefer to do things this way within a framework like Laravel, and the whole structure within like even down to hosting needs to be more opinionated because then it works better with AI. But then also like our own individual preferences of things like actions or controllers or whatever those it
Yeah.
just makes it better in the long run
Yeah.
because AI knows, oh, I'm not guessing which you prefer or what we've done in the past and having
Yeah.
to check and waste a whole bunch of money and tokens doing that.
Yeah.
And also keeps it more aligned with like how your other code is written, especially if you're not just using it for a new project, but for a project like a pre-existing one. If you already had it kind of set up to use invocable actions and then AI is generating new ones, putting everything in controllers, like in one controller file, then now you have two different ways of doing things in the one repository, and it could be more confusing for people who are like working on that project. So having that in a skill and having it continue to create code the way you would expect it to be
Yeah.
kind of helps that stay aligned, helps it stay cleaner, more maintainable, and easier for new people to jump in.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much, Jake, for
Thanks,
coming
Jake.
on stream and letting us review your code live.
I'd be
Hopefully it
willing to do
wasn't
that.
scary. Yeah, yeah, being willing, asking us
Not
to
too
do it.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tweeted,
Would you
if you
like to?
want to see someone embarrassed, you can jump on the stream. I wasn't too embarrassed, so I'll take
There
it.
you go.
Thank you. Shout out Claude,
Yeah.
Opus 4.5.
No, it was good quality code. Also, is there any like closing words you'd like to say about using AI to create a Laravel application where people can find you online, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm at Jake Dohm on Twitter. If you wanna find me, I'm gonna continue to tweet as I learn. And if you're maybe new to the Laravel ecosystem or using AI in your Laravel applications, hopefully have some insights on there. Or if you happen to follow the pro pickleball scene, I am
Ooh.
tweeting about that. I'm not in the pro pickleball scene, but I do stay tweeting about that. And so if you hate pickleball, don't follow me. You're not gonna have a good time. And then I'd just say like, whether you're new to AI or new to like agentic engineering or AI programming, or you're new to Laravel, like try new things. It's never been easier to create. And so create things that support you and the people around you, and try new things and have fun. I think I was in a little bit of a programming rut not too long ago, and it's been super fun to enjoy it. And the velocity that AI can kind of put behind you makes it even more enjoyable. I've built more things for friends and family. My wife had a baby. I built her a little app for our family to, track those things. And so it's been really fun. And so if you're hesitant, or you're, have an idea and you're not sure how far you can get, throw something at the wall with AI, and then you can jump in. And if it becomes valuable to you, you can always continue to build that out. And as we've seen, you're not gonna create anything too horrible. You can get a lot out of a little.
I love it. Some
We
great
need a
closing
pickleball
words.
Laravel app. Yeah.
Actually, I
Awesome.
actually started building one for a demo because short little snippet, hopefully, as people hopefully like and subscribe as we're wrapping this up. But
Yes.
I'm recording a video of where I don't use AI, not even autocomplete, to build an
Wow.
application to see if I can do it still. It has
See
been a
if you lost
process.
it. That's
I have
awesome.
I'm reading so much documentation and copying from the docs so much.
I bet.
There's
Also,
a
I've
new
linked Josh's Twitter.
That's awesome. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe for both
There you
these
go.
guys.
Jake said it.
Um, yeah, there's a new like fantasy pickleball app that like just got put out there, and I haven't looked at it very much, but I went to the homepage and I saw that they still have the like Laravel favicon. And so there's some pickleball software being made
There
with
you go.
Laravel. So shout out whoever that is. I
Oh
think it's like
man,
Protege Fantasy Pickleball.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
know that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have any closing words about using AI and coding using AI and Laravel?
Yeah, I think the only thing is as you, regardless of where your skill level is as a developer, front end, back end, or you're just wanting to build more things, like Jake and Leah said, like the best way to do it is to learn. But one of the things I think you should focus on as you're learning, and I think all of us here are not only agree with this, but like we're here to help within the Laravel team as well. Focus on learning the language and the etymology behind what you're building.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so that's really what helps you build with AI better. So I would
Hmm.
focus on instead of thinking through the process like Jake did of, oh, I need to build this particular app and I want to do this. Well, then think through, okay, well, when I send a chat message, how is that going to show up on someone else's
Hmm.
machine and device, and learning what a WebSocket is and all those things. You don't have to know how it works. I think you just need to know it exists.
Cool.
I think that's a really good call too. And then also let me link Laravel.com/AI/boost because we talked a lot about using AI with Laravel and a lot about Boost this stream, but I don't think I linked it. So this is a great place to go to learn more about Boost. And we also have some streams with Pushback talking more about Boost as well. If you want to find those on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Josh and Jacob both said it. I felt like I needed to say it. But thank you all for watching. Thank you, Josh and Jake, for being on the stream. Our next stream will be next week. I believe it's next Thursday, but it is with Chip, who works at Laravel, manages our marketing engineering team, and he will be talking about how they refactored the Laravel website to run using React and Inertia on the front end and how he
Mm.
used AI to do that. So perfect
Great.
tie-in from the stream as well. So tune into that next week and I'll have it scheduled soon so you can see the link. But thank you everyone for being here and bye.